What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Fantasy Football 2016. Very excited to get the season underway and excited to have commish videos again. I was slacking last year, but I'm back. And sorry this video took so long to get out there. I'm out of practice. But yeah, the keepers are in. We have 9 days until the draft. It's a wonderful time of year. So yeah, let's get to revealing the keepers. And real quick, a little disclaimer. I'll be ranking everybody's teams based on not only the keepers, but also your draft day trades. We've had a lot of swapping picks recently. And yeah, the rankings are kind of random, just my opinion. So don't be offended if you think you're too low on the list. And yeah, I'll be throwing out a few razzes along the way. Some light razzes, some slightly heavier razzes. So don't be offended about that either. So your team might get made fun of a little bit, or your keepers might get made fun of, or perhaps clips of your favorite Republican presidential nominee will be mixed in.
Everybody loves me.
But I'd like to emphasize it's all in good fun. All right, so first, before we do each team, let's have some general fun facts about our keepers. I got a master's degree in making pretty graphs, so let's go ahead and put that to good use. The keepers by position. Wide receiver was the most popular with 9 out of 20 kept at wide receiver. Next up was running back, which had 7 keepers. And there were really not that many quarterbacks or tight ends. There were just 3 quarterbacks and 1 single lone tight end, who we can all guess who that is.
Sí. Yo soy Fiesta.
And looking at each team, there were only 3 NFL teams that had multiple keepers. We got 2 keepers from the Houston Texans. We got 2 keepers from the Steelers. And then, of course, you had to have multiple keepers from your NFC champion Carolina Panthers, their quality football team. They had 2 keepers as well. So round by round, we definitely saw keepers late in the draft, which makes sense. You get more value there. Interesting thing to note, there were 6 keepers in the first 8 rounds combined and 6 keepers in the 17th round alone. So people were definitely willing to take a look at that super late round keeper. All right, so let's go ahead and do the team-by-team rankings. So first up at number 10, bringing up the rear, we got Shane and Genji Shimada, the new team name. And his 2 keepers are Andrew Luck in the first round and Thomas Rawls in the 17th round. So let's first talk about the keeper choices. And the interesting one here of Andrew Luck in the first round. So last year, Luck had a terrible year, finished the year as the number 28 quarterback. He was injured half the year, but even when he played, his points per game was not that great. It was very comparable to that of a Cousins or a Fitzpatrick. Not great. But maybe Shane's saying, well, Luck's a quarterback. I really want a good quarterback. Okay, fine. Maybe you really want that position. But Shane has both Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers on his team. Those are the guys you want. Oh, it's a very confusing move. Second, let's talk about those off-season trades, because Shane recently traded back from his second-round pick for Thomas Rawls. That's an early pick to give up for a rookie last year out of Central Michigan who started only 7 games. Just because he is replacing Beast Mode does not mean he will be Beast Mode. And then Shane also traded away his 3rd-round pick to Pat last season, if everyone remembers, for Eddie Lacy and Jonathan Stewart. A very controversial trade at the time because Shane wanted to make that playoff push, needed some good running backs. So he decided to pilfer the dumpster fire that was Pat's team. But out of giving his 3rd-round pick for this year, Shane got out of his 2 running backs a combined 2.2 points. So Shane's starting off with 2 kind of questionable keepers, and he's going to be watching for the first 29 picks of the draft. So definitely looks like an uphill climb to get back into the playoffs for Shane. All right, next up at number 9, we got Stephen Cole and new team name Testy Cole. With his 2 keepers of Rob Gronkowski in the 6th round and Josh Gordon in the 17th round. Now, it's a bit of blasphemy for me to question the champ and his decision making. After all, he already made a very savvy trade, moving up in the draft with Thomas Rawls. And Gronk is, of course, always a solid keeper. He's a manimal. But I'm not on board with the keeper selection of Josh Gordon. Feels like a huge risk. And yeah, it hurts the moral backbone of your team with Josh Gordon's suspensions and marijuana criminal offenses and whatnot. But also from a football perspective, he hasn't played a game since December 21st of 2014. And he's going to have RG3 throwing him the ball. Very questionable. So you never know. Josh Gordon could turn it all around, and it could be an amazing, savvy move by the champ. After all I saw on ESPN, Josh Gordon just got reinstated, and there was exclusive footage of him rolling up to the Browns training camp.
Hey, smoke weed every day.
It'll be interesting to see how the keepers play out for the champ. Maybe he just thought last year was too easy. I'm going to make it a little more challenging and keep Josh Gordon just for fun. So we'll see what happens, but you got Stephen Cole, number 9. At number 8, we have Stephen Griffith and America's Fantasy Team with a 12th round Andy Dalton and a 13th round Danny Woodhead. So Griff with the rare keeper choice of 2 white guys who you wouldn't recognize on the street as NFL players. And talking about Danny Woodhead, he's a solid keeper as a 13th round pick, very low risk. He finished surprisingly as the number 3 running back last year. And Danny Woodhead plays as if he knows he's in a PPR league. He'll rush for 5 yards in a game, but then somehow catch 8 passes. So Danny Woodhead, pretty solid. Andy Dalton, a little bit more questionable in that we already had Andrew Luck being kept, who was the number 28 quarterback last year. And now Andy Dalton, the number 18 quarterback last year. Somehow the quarterbacks who had rough years are the ones being kept.
How do you like that, folks? Not so smart, right?
We'll see how that plays out, but at least Griff, 2 good players, 2 good values. Griff coming in at number 8. At number 7, we have John Fitzsimmons and Rise and Shine, Mr. Freeman. Not sure I get the reference off the top of my head. I might have to look that one up for the team name. But yeah, his 2 keepers are a 10th round Devonta Freeman, his team namesake, and 17th round Stephon Diggs. So Freeman, a very solid keeper in the 10th round, a starting running back who's the focal point of his team's offense. That's surprisingly kind of hard to find now in the NFL. So Freeman's a good keeper. Stephon Diggs, he's the real question mark. He's a bit of a risk. He's young, he's talented, but he's unpredictable. So last year he'd have a great game and then the next game be non-existent. But he did finish a bit stronger, so we'll see how Diggs plays out. He is quite the gamble.
Gambling? Who said anything about gambling? It's not gambling when you know you're going to win.
All right, at number 6, we have Mike Melson, and 55 years and still waiting. Might need a new team name or at least an update on the number of years. And his 2 keepers are a 9th round Lamar Miller and a 17th round Kelvin Benjamin. So some very interesting keepers because a lot of change.
Please don't change. Please don't change. Just stay the way you are.
We got Lamar Miller switching to the Houston Texans and Brock Osweiler at quarterback. So a totally new offense there. So we'll see if Lamar Miller is as good or maybe he's even better this year. And then you got Kelvin Benjamin, who the Panthers did not need him last year. They seemed fine without him. So we'll see how he gets back into the offense with Cam. So very interesting 2 keepers, could be very solid plays. Mike Melson, one of the ones who will be drafting via Skype on the 27th. So won't be at the draft, but will be participating from the West Coast. So Mike Melson, number 6. All right, next up we got at number 5, Ben Weeks and La Liga Campeones, another team name named after one of the keepers. And you got to love these choices because not only does Ben have some good players here, you need that, but they are also near and dear to his heart. First, he's got his own team's quarterback in Cam Newton, who's now arguably the best fantasy quarterback in the league. But Ben also now down at UGA right before SEC football season. He's joining Bulldog Nation. And Ben, you got to work on that Bulldog bark.
The tip-off to me was Uga was in the black shirt.
Yeah, you know, that's
He got the word.
in the pregame warm-up. Uga was the first one out in the black. Yeah.
So not only is Todd Gurley one of the best young running backs in the league, but Ben's got school spirit too. So I'm jealous. I wish I could keep a UVA player if there were any worth keeping. But yeah, two very solid mid-round keepers for Ben. Well done coming in at number 5. All right, at number 4, we got Pat Jordan and Brown to the crown. So he's got for his keeper 7th round Allen Robinson and 8th round Antonio Brown. So Pat at number 4 looking good on you, kid. He is not last in the rankings, which is a surprise. Can you believe it?
What the hell is going on?
Pat actually looks like one of the better teams going into the season because he's got 2 good wide receiver keepers. Antonio Brown's arguably the best player in the league right now. And Allen Robinson is part of this Jags offense that is slinging it all over the field with Blake Bortles. Who saw that coming? But also on top of that, Pat has an extra 3rd-round pick going into the draft. So looks to be in good shape. Pat gets to make his own draft picks this year without Cat there, so we'll see how that goes. So Pat just needs to be sober enough to draft players who are currently in the NFL. So we'll see how that goes next Saturday. But Pat coming in at number 4, looking good. At number 3, we got the commish and fly hard to fly harder. So my keepers are Le'Veon Bell and DeAndre Hopkins, who were both 12th rounders last year. So I'll make DeAndre my 11th rounder. So I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I think I've done a pretty good job with these keepers.
I think that I have a great grasp of numbers. I have a great grasp of values.
I've also traded up around in the draft with the Danny Woodhead trade from about a month ago with Griff. So this squad could be higher up in the rankings, except Le'Veon Bell got suspended again. So he missed a drug test, sadly. Innocent until proven guilty, last time I checked. But it doesn't look good. We'll see how his appeal goes. I don't expect much. So pretty unfortunate, pretty ridiculous. I don't know why you would just not show up to a test. What were you thinking, Le'Veon?
You are stupid.
Hopefully his suspension gets reduced. But either way, fly hard to 2 young top-tier players, a bonus in the draft, looking pretty good going into the season. So fly hard 2 at number 3. At number 2, we have Drew Melson and Game of Throws with Jordy Nelson as a 9th round keeper and Odell Beckham Jr. as a 17th round keeper. So Odell is the main reason for this ranking. That is some amazing value right there in the 17th round. We all know what he can do. One of the best receivers in the league and only 23 years old. So Jordy as a 9th round keeper, still some good value, but a little nerve-wracking because he does like to get injured. But Aaron Rodgers slinging it around. Jordy has top 5 wide receiver potential. So with those 2 keepers, Drew also traded up in the draft a couple rounds using Kelvin Benjamin. Very savvy move. So this team is in great shape going into the season. Drew just has to start praying now that Jordy does not suffer any more injuries.
Dear 8-pound, 6-ounce, newborn infant Jesus, don't even know a word yet, just a little infant, so cuddly, but still omnipotent.
And that leaves one final team in the top spot with the number 1 ranking going into the draft. We got John Fornecker and Gimme the Loot with a 15th round Alshon Jeffrey and a 17th round David Johnson. So with that number 1 ranking, mostly because he's got arguably the best running back in the league as a 17th rounder, a 24-year-old beast who can score touchdowns, will catch a ton of passes out of the backfield. He's the focal point of a high-powered offense. He'll get a lot of points. And you also got Alshon Jeffrey in the 15th round, who should be a top 10 wide receiver, mostly because he's the only real professional football player on the Bears offense. He might get triple covered every single play, but who else are the Bears going to throw to? They're going to be losing every single game and just sling it the entire time. So Alshon should get 40 targets a game. So these two keepers, who are also in two different positions, which I think is good, gives John a little more flexibility going into the draft, they're quite solid. So John's in great shape to win during the regular season.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore.
The only thing is John better draft Doug Martin with his first pick, because we all know John tried to convince everyone in the league that Doug Martin is the best player in the world and that he was our savior and that we should give him all of our draft picks for Doug Martin. So, John, unless you were trying to bamboozle us, draft Doug Martin to kick it off. All right, everybody, that does it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. And honestly, everybody has really good keepers going into the draft. It's really anybody's game. We'll have to wait till 8 o'clock to see how those rosters fill out. But yeah, looking forward to it. I plan on getting there very early next Saturday. I haven't checked with Pat, but I assume that's okay. Yeah, and come early, drink plenty of beer, play plenty of cornhole, and we'll talk some football before the draft at 8. We have Ben Weeks and Mike Melson Skyping in for their picks. So yeah, it should be a great time. I'll post on the league page an Excel spreadsheet picture of the draft board, which will be very easy for everybody to know what's happening, who's picking where, and get in your research for next Saturday. All right, everybody, looking forward to it.